All right, so in this one, we are going to actually add in the ability to see the jobs related to any particular user. It's very, very easy to do. So if we go into our actual view for our job, so a profile view, we can go off of the user itself. So we can actually say jobs equal to user.userJobSet.all. That will actually give us that reverse relationship from user, just because we can go in here and say user job. And that will give us all these jobs, so let's go ahead and add them in here. All right, so now in profile view, let's go to that template. And underneath the user picture, we're going to put a new row here. So I'll say, first I'll do if jobs, and then I'll say div class equals to row, close off that div, and then for each job we'll just put it into a list for now. So I'll just say UL, and then close the UL, and then for job in jobs, and for, and we'll just say this, and I'll say job.position, and then job.location, job position in, job location at, job.employer name. All right, so if I refresh, it now shows this list of items here, which is cool. So now I have my job position, and if I go and look at other people, let's say like Jon Snow, I see that I have a few different jobs for him because he did have different jobs. And Jason Bourne, secret agent everywhere, so on and so forth. So we have those positions, and they're actually showing. That's pretty cool. But now what we want to do is actually be able to edit and update these positions, especially if there's multiple positions. So in the case of Jon Snow, he has 2 positions, but most people have more than one job, right? So if we look at this one, I want to have the ability to either update one position or update many. And to do this, we have to use what's called model form sets. So first off, I'm going to set up the model form, and then in the next one, we'll actually go through the model form sets. So inside of our profiles, where we have our job model, our user job right here, we're going to go in and create a new file here called forms.py. And we're going to go from Django import forms. And we're creating a model form, so we'll do from.models import user job. And we'll say class user job form is forms.model form. And then I'll say model equals to user job. All right, so now that I have this form, let's go ahead and render it on a new view for us. So first off, I'm just going to do strictly adding one job. And then the next one, we'll talk about those form sets. So in here, we'll add login required, and then I'll just say job new. And we don't need the username anymore, but the user is going to be the requested user, of course. So all this stuff we actually don't need. So profile, and I'm going to do job new.html. And let's get rid of this context here. And then I'm going to get rid of all these other parts. So form is equal to, well, let's go ahead and import that form. So from .forms import user job form. And the form is equal to that. Request.post or none, as we've seen before. So if form.isValid, instance equals to form.save, commit equals to false, and then we'll just do instance.save. Actually, one more thing I want to do is actually instance.user equals to request.user, and then lastly the context, we'll say form is form. Alright, so since we're using just a generic kind of form here, I'm actually going to set up a generic form template, so form.html. And then I'll add something new here, and I'll say title equals to add job. So let's go ahead and create a template called form.html. So it's fairly generic by having just one general form.html. And it looks like we already have one, but we call it forms.html. So we already actually did this. So let's change this to forms.html. and then add our title context. So we must have done the forms.html in TryDjango 1.8. So now I have this view. I'm going to go ahead and go into our URLs for it. So in Matchmaker URLs, I'm going to go into, instead of profile, actually I'll just copy the about one, paste this in here, and we'll say job new or just job add match, and this is profiles.views.job add and job add. We might have called it job new, so let's go check that out. Yeah, we did. Let's call it job add. Okay, so job add, there we go. So now we've got this. Let's go ahead and go into job/add, and model form has no class specified. Oops, we need to put this in class meta and then put it in just like that. There we go. Creating a model form without fields or exclude is prohibited, so we actually have to put the fields here, so the fields that we want in this. And the first field I'm going to have is position, and then location, and then finally employer name. And I'm just going off of memory here, so let's double check this. And we've got user, position, location, employer name. Now I'm going to keep user out, and the reason for that is because of what we're doing here. We actually set the user here instead of setting it in the form. So I'll show you both methods. So if I put user here and went and refreshed here, I would actually have to set this specific user. But if I'm the user adding this job to myself, I'm not going to set a different user, right? That doesn't actually make any sense. So we'll leave that out and we'll refresh. And now that goes away. And what that means too is then when we actually run the form is valid, we have to set the user, so we do set it here. And this is where you could do all sorts of changes if you needed to the form instance itself, not to the general form, because we can do validations and stuff in the general form area. So after validations are done, if there's things that we need to change, we can do that here. But you could also, like we've done on post save, you could also do it after it's already saved, or there's another one called pre-save. So pre-save, you can also do that as well. So that would be before it's actually saved, so you can mess with the instance there, which we've already talked about. So anyways, now that we have this, I'll say new position. I'll just do a test position and say teacher. And I'll say location, Los Angeles. And I'll just say employer name is self and hit submit. Nothing actually happens, so let's go back into our profile. And we'll do profile and J. Mitchell 3. There we go. So now we have another one. Right, so this is where we might want to change. Oh, well, what if we don't have any location or employer name? Well, that's an option that we might want to get rid of. Or we could just say none and just be able to leave it blank. But for now, we're just going to leave it at this. All right, so now that I've been able to add an individual one, I can't edit these yet. One way to actually edit them would be going off of the ID, but instead, I want to just be able to edit all my jobs at the same time. So job/edit or jobs/edit, right? So that's where I'd actually want to be able to do that. So we'll do that with what's called model form in the next one. All right, so if you have any questions, let us know. Otherwise, let's keep going.